wheel bearing kind of a day. We actually have one in there, new wheel bearing in there, but that's for the mistress, another thing. We'll get to that. But we made up a nice little jig here. I gotta clean this all up. I got rust everywhere. But we were having problems with sitting this, holding this flush anywhere, right? Couldn't get anything to hold flush. So what I was able to do with this, I'll show you in a second, but we were able to make ourselves a nice little house here. Now we're able to push that right up out. Okay, get this out of here. Busted our shield up pretty good, but we'll get it. All right, what we did was took 2 Tahoe rotors that I had laying around, and I cut the center section out of one. When I cut the center section out, it let me have a place to set it down nice and level and had enough room to knock out the hub. So it was genius of me. We've had a challenge here, guys. We're starting to get the bearing to come out of the bottom. So you can kind of see it right there. We ended up having to use another bearing that I found in a part of the other bearing, stick them in there, and then push it on down. It's been an adventure, but Tiburon rotor, actually it's an accent rotor. The Tahoe rotor with a piece of metal here and a couple pieces of metal there, guys. You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. There it comes. Finally starting to slide out there, guys. You can see it coming. Now we're gonna run out of room here soon. There, we didn't need any more room. All right, guys, I found an old bearing on my junk pile that luckily was a good bearing that I just threw away, as I don't no longer have a Subaru Justy any longer. But that Subaru Justin bearing just saved me, because we able to get it in there and got it stuck in between here, which you can see there's a lip right here. So that was able to get into there, and then I have nothing this size other than the other piece of the bearing that fell out. So I put it on the top like that, put my socket on there, and we push through. Now we'll keep this bearing because this bearing can actually be used to push out the old one. Well, actually you can't. You might try to push this bearing back out so we can reuse it. I totally forget you can't put a bearing this way, duh. But anyway, your bearing comes in, pushes in through this way. But everything looks to be good in there, so I'm going to clean it up a little bit more. Just some WD. I'm going to put a little film of grease in there. Maybe some anti-seize, just a little bit of anti-seize, I'm thinking. Maybe just some regular high temp grease to hopefully maybe to keep this job a little easier for the next time. Okay, everything we're doing here is using the old bearing and pressing it right down onto the new bearing and sitting it in there flush on top of our Tahoe axles that we made so we can push everything in here. So we're going to try to do this and see what happens. Kind of hard to get all this on camera, and I didn't really clean up anything to put it all in the tripod back here, so wasn't really going to video this, but it kind of became an adventure. So an adventure sometimes makes some decent videos. But yeah, we're going to put that in there like that, get her straightened out like that right there, and we should be able to tighten this up and put it in there. Try to put it in there as straight as possible, but that's can be a bit complicated, especially when you got one hand here. As you can see, it's starting to go in. All right, as you guys can see, we got the bearing puller on here. You just kind of set it up just like that. I don't use one very often, but finally got to use it today, and it's coming off. So I already got the one done, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to have a backup, and I need this piece here, so that's what we're gonna try to do right now. Alright guys, this really isn't the video and showing you how to do it, but it is showing you that you can do it. And made up a little bit of a jig here, socket in here so it can come up over that. This here to push into it. And as you guys can see, the bearing separator is doing its job. There we go. So we got that old piece of bearing off. Throw these away any other time. I figured today we're not going to do that. We're going to clean it up and put it into this one. He said not really how to, just showing you guys what I'm up to. Instead of not videoing nothing. Alright, windy as hell, but the car's nice and quiet now. It's not all, it'd be hard to tell in video, but before you could hear like a roaring noise. That roaring noise is always a wheel bearing. Usually if they're roaring, they're already pretty bad. So that one right there, when we went out and shook the wheel went they're not good at all. Window's cracked here, so that's making a bunch of noise too. But another good sign is no vibration in the wheel. You guys can see my hand's not vibrating all over the place. And we're doing a decent amount of mile an hour here. So everything's good. I was hoping we would have no shimmy. We had a little shimmy past 75 before, and the wheel bearing's what it was, but you couldn't really tell it at all other than the roaring. I mean, a lot of times it will vibrate real bad for a while before it starts to roar. But this one stayed straight and roared like crazy. So, wheel bearing's done.